So the Republicans are the dog that caught the car. And that means that they've been clamoring that government Democrats screwing up everything. Oh, just put us in control. They were put in control. And they couldn't even repeal Obamacare. Every Republican ran on it. For 8 years, they've been screaming. They got control of government, couldn't do it. Here's a little, they put together, ABC News put together this little thing. I think it's pretty good.
Bid to turn the page, President Trump today signed a few bills that actually did pass Congress.
That's a in an effort to turn the page, he signed some bills that actually did pass Kyle. Oh, were they important bills?
Minor measures on cutting regulations. When the president was asked about the big one that didn't pass,
still want to repeal Obamacare, Mr. President?
No reply.
Bam! Still want to repeal Obamacare? Now, this is a version of what I said would happen. I said, because everyone was freaking out, Trump, and we all have to vote for a warmongering corporatist Hillary who's going to make everything worse, and if you don't do that, Trump. And he's going to repeal Obamacare. And I kept trying to tell people that if Trump is as horrible as everyone says, then he's going to be repulsive to most of the country, and he didn't win the popular vote. So what you do is, when he has these horrible ideas, all the Democrats stick together, all the independents will oppose him, and you get purple state Republicans. Well, what happened? Turns out Trump wasn't the maniac here. It was the Freedom Caucus, the extreme right wing of the Republican Party, who wanted to take everything out of the health care bill that people liked. And so they couldn't. So it turned out it was the Democrats sticking together, the independents sticking together, and the moderate turns out to be Trump. And it was the Freedom Caucus that screwed him over. So that's interesting. He couldn't get his own Republicans in line. That's what this is about. The Republicans didn't come together. They can't govern. Okay, here we go.
No comment. Faced with a divided Republican Party in Congress, the White House has suggested it may be time to reach out to Democrats.
Is the president serious about working with Democrats going forward after what happened with healthcare?
Absolutely.
But wouldn't this require a serious course correction for the White House? I mean, the president's branded Chuck Schumer a clown, worked entirely with Republicans on this bill. Wouldn't this require a serious change of course for the president?
To some degree, sure. And I think the president talked about that. I think he's...
God.
We learned a lot through this process.
The healthcare debacle.
Oh, did you?
To some degree, sure. I mean, sure. I mean, to some degree, sure. I mean, we have to do everything to 100% different than we've been doing it. Yeah, right. Because the way we did it didn't work. Right, sure. At least we're willing to acknowledge that as Republicans. Democrats aren't. Did you guys lose to Donnie Tiny Heads? Yes. You're going to change? No. Okay. We're a little bit better than they are. That's what I would say right now.
I just feel like
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I just feel like I need a shower because Trump called Schumer a clown. So it's like, oh, wow, Trump said something I agree with.
Ha!
Stating, given what the president said during the campaign.
Repealing and replacing Obamacare is one of the single most important reasons we must win on November 8th.
So they won. They own government. Now what? And I just know without even checking that Trump supporters are doing mental gymnastics to say it's not his fault. Somehow it's that somebody else's fault. It's not Trump. And it's probably not even the Republicans. The thing that they've been saying they wanted to do for 8 years, they're not doing, and they're leaving you with Obamacare. Paul Ryan said it. It's going to be Obamacare going forward. So that's what he said. Do you remember when he said that? He kept saying, you got to, the number one thing is repealing Obamacare. That's why you got to elect him. You elected him, it's staying. You got to elect Republicans. Why? You got to get rid of Obamacare. We elected them, it's staying. So that's what he said. You got to get rid of it. And then then we elected him, and what did he say?
He promised to repeal it immediately, but was soon surprised by how difficult it would be.
Oh.
It's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
After it went down, the president, who's branded himself the ultimate deal maker, seemed a little shell-shocked.
It certainly was an interesting period of time. We all learned a lot.
An interesting period of time. I think that's what the Atlanta Falcons said after the Super Bowl. That was certainly an interesting period of time. We learned a lot. We learned how to blow a big fucking lead. We learned how to lose. We learned a lot. We learned how to not get stuff done. That's what he said. The Mr. Businessman, Mr. Get Everything Done, Mr. Deal. We're going to get so tired of winning. That's what's called, that goes in the L column. That's a loss. The number one thing they've been screaming about for 8 years, not getting done. And look at the spin he's putting on this.
We learned a lot about loyalty. We learned a lot about...
We learned a lot about loyalty.
Wow.
Which I love that he thinks that the Congress people are supposed to be loyal to him. No, they're loyal. They're supposed to be loyal to their voters. We learned a lot about loyalty.
the vote-getting process.
From his budget director, a frank admission.
I think the one thing we learned this week is that Washington was a lot more broken than President Trump thought that it was.
Oh, my gosh. That Washington is a lot more broken.
It's Washington's brokenness stuff. It's not Trump's incompetence. It's not their inability to actually govern. It's not their inability to govern because what they want to do is actually detrimental to the country, and it's hard. So this is fantastic. So there you go. Their first order of business, repealing Obamacare, the crown jewel, the holy grail of Republicans getting into power. Not happening. Their raison d'etre, their whole reason for being is to repeal Obamacare, and they can't do it. Isn't that funny? So I know there are a lot of Trump supporters who watch this show, and I'm going to look forward to, I read the comments sometimes, and I'm going to read them under this one to see what kind of mental gymnastics you're doing to justify this. So, 3 reasons people said you had to vote for Hillary and you couldn't vote for Gary Johnson or Jill Stein or anybody else, the Workers' Party or anybody else. You had to vote for a corporatist warmonger who you knew was going to stick a knife in your back because the other guy was going to stick 2 knives in your back. That was the whole theory. But they did repeal Obamacare. The Supreme Court, Obamacare. And he was supposed to be a nuclear war guy, right? Wasn't that the 3 reasons? Oh, Trump's going to start a nuclear war. Well, the Democrats are the ones trying to do that now, so that's off the table. Number 2 is Obamacare. They didn't repeal it. That's off the table. Supreme Court, half the Senate Democrats said they were going to vote for the frickin' guy until the grassroots rose up, and now they're thinking about filibustering him.
You know what the Democrats remind me of these days? It's like, you know how like in cartoons and stuff, there's the bully. And then there's like, everybody wants to stand up to the bully. And there's like this one person that's like, I really want to stand up to that bully, but they don't. And then a bunch of other people do. And then that one person like runs up to the front of the herd. Like they were standing up to the bully the whole time. That was like the Democrats throughout this entire thing.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, we were going to stand up to it. And like, no, the people in the town halls stood up to it. The crazy people to the right of Trump stood up to it. All these different groups that were opposing this bogus bill. And then all of a sudden Democrats were like, yep, we stopped it.
We
like,
did
no,
it.
you didn't do much.
We
you
did
didn't
it.
do much.
But what happened to the death panels?
Oh, you guys are going to leave the death panels in place. Oh, is that what that... Steph, that's a great observation. That means that the Republicans are going to they're keeping the death panels.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I feel like a chump because I voted for Barack Obama. I felt like a chump when I voted for him after I saw what he did. I wonder how long it's going to take for Trump voters to feel like a chump. Hey, I wish Donnie Tanahans meant what he said and was going to do the things he said, that we're going to win, and he's going to bring jobs back and all that stuff. I hope he could do that stuff too. And he said he was going to give everybody health care, everybody, and it's going to be cheaper. I hope he could do that too. He can't do anything he said. He's not doing any of it.
It's far more complicated than anybody had ever imagined, Jimmy.
And by the way, and the bill that Trump wanted to do made it worse anyway. Didn't make anything better. So let's keep that in mind. So there you go. It's fun to watch them have to govern. Is there any more to this report?
All right, John Carl with us live from the White House tonight as well. And John, the president says he wants to move on now to tax reform, tax cuts. But after the failure to repeal Obamacare, doesn't tax reform become even more difficult?
More difficult and a heck of a lot more complicated, David. It's not even clear what the White House strategy will be going forward, or even whether or not the president will be offering his own tax reform proposal or wait for Congress to act first. And as to whether or not the president will again try to get support from those hardline conservatives that defied him on health care, today the White House, when asked about that, said simply, it depends.
All right.
Tough governing. Tough governing, huh? Tough. Whew. First 100 days. This is a tough first 100 days. This is when you're supposed to be getting all your stuff jammed through. Couldn't do it. And now it looks like tax reform, which means cutting taxes for rich people, which Democrats do all the time, too. It's not Trump. So this whole thing about, Trump's going to cut taxes for millionaires. So do the Democrats. Barack Obama did it. He made Bush's tax cuts permanent. So that's why I think tax reform, cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires, has a much better chance of getting done because Democrats are okay with that stuff, too. And they're, by the way, they're okay with corporatist right-wing healthcare plans, which is what we have. And they're okay with bank deregulation, and they're okay with endless foreign wars. The Democrats are. I'm going to predict that they're going to get this tax thing done. That's my prediction, that they're going to figure out a way to get the tax thing done. And I bet some Democrats go along.
Well, I was kind of with you on that because when he said, like, well, won't it be even harder? I was like, no, I think he, like, diverted to something easier. Like, he's like, okay, let's aces in their places. Let's just cut some taxes. We got this. We got to have a feel-good victory here.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Much easier to cut taxes than it is to raise them. And I don't think the Democrats are going to stand up. We'll see, but that's my prediction. Hey, our next live Jimmy Dore show is April 24th. April 24th, live in Burbank. We do 2 shows a month, live shows, so get your tickets right down there, jimmydorecomedy.com.